What's up, everybody? Hope you guys having a good day today. This is On Air with Nick Driver, and today I got one of my really good friends, man, Ryan, with me. Man, Ryan, would you tell a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, so boy, I don't know. I guess live in Wake Forest, been here for just about 15 years, a little more than that. My background is in nursing and emergency medicine, EMS. I've been in clinical research for the last 20 years now. Um, yeah, I got three kids. I got my dog right there behind me, hanging out, taking a nap. So
Nice, man. Yeah, I got
yeah.
my dogs, Max and Mike. They're over there. I'm waiting for them to start barking at anything. So, yeah. If you hear them,
Yeah.
and Ryan, you said you have a background in nursing and EMS.
Yep. Yep.
Nice, man. Nice, nice,
Yep.
nice. Very
So I
cool.
have
Very cool.
undergraduate and graduate degrees in nursing, and then I got my start in EMS.
Nice. Very cool, man. Very cool. So today, man, me and you are going to talk about metabolic syndrome. I haven't heard about this until, you were mentioning it to me. So we'll cut to the video, man, and we'll check it out. So
Sure.
About 6 months ago, Graham West says he got fed up with his lifestyle.
The fact that my clothes didn't fit, I was tired. I wasn't exercising. I know I was eating things that I shouldn't have, and I was really looking for a program that seemed to make sense.
West came to the Weight Center at Mass General Hospital in Boston to lose weight, and in the process, he was diagnosed with a potentially life-threatening condition called metabolic syndrome.
Metabolic syndrome is just the tip of the iceberg, as those who have it are 5 times more likely to develop diabetes and 2 times more likely to develop a stroke or have a heart attack.
Metabolic syndrome is a group of risk factors that include increased waist circumference or belly fat, high triglycerides, elevated blood pressure, high blood sugar, and a low HDL or good cholesterol. If a patient has three of these five risk factors, a diagnosis of metabolic syndrome is made.
Metabolic syndrome is serious and often hides beneath the surface. By that I mean patients don't know they have it, and medical providers don't often screen for it. And let me have you stand up and we'll check your waist circumference.
Dr. Butch says a larger waistline or central obesity is the most common risk factor for metabolic syndrome, and it's often the missing piece of information needed to diagnose the condition.
Listen, we measure blood pressure very well, we check cholesterol levels, but we often don't measure one's waist.
And he says it should be measured because metabolic syndrome is on the rise in the US due to the rise in obesity. About 35% of Americans, almost half of those older than 60, have the condition, and the rate is especially high in women and Hispanics. But once diagnosed, the risk for metabolic syndrome can be greatly reduced or even reversed by losing just 5 to 10% of body weight.
We focus on lifestyle changes, whether it's diet, exercise, sometimes sleep changes, or even reducing stress.
It's working for Graham West. 6 months into the program, he's lost almost 20 pounds. But more importantly, he's lowered his blood pressure, improved his cholesterol, trimmed 4 inches off his waist, and no longer has the diagnosis of metabolic syndrome.
I'm going to be 70 years old, and I think it's now or never. So I'm going to really work at this.
In Boston, I'm Linda Champa for CNN.
very cool, man. Very cool. So
So
yeah, go ahead, Ryan. Sorry.
I was going to say I feel like this is a good thing to chat about. I mean, you had mentioned wanting to chat about politics and stuff, and I'm kind of tired of that. I think that's, you know, overdone. But I mean, this is something. I mean, they talked a little bit about it in the video, but it's something that's a real big problem that a lot of people may not be aware of, may not know that they have. We talk a lot about, you know, poor American diet and how, obesity is going through the roof. But that's only one piece of it, right? That they were talking about is the obesity. But that can kind of cause some of the other um, conditions that play into this, and they each make each other worse. So, if you've got high triglycerides, it's going to make your blood sugar messed up. But if your blood sugar is messed up, it's going to jack up your triglycerides. So all of these things that people have, but maybe don't put all of it together to recognize that they need to treat it a little bit differently.
Right on. So is metabolic syndrome, I'll be honest with you, man, up until me and you were talking about this between yesterday and today, I've never really heard of it.
Mhm.
Um, is it just is it overeating? Is it obesity? Is that what this is linked to?
So it can be a couple different things. I mean, you might not know it or even guess it by looking at me, but I have it. I go to the gym 3 to 5 days a week. I eat well. I
Right.
take medications, keep it under control. But you know, um, on my in my family, there's a history of diabetes, and my blood sugar got a little out of control. My cholesterol wasn't so good. But I've been eating well. I mean, you noticed I dropped like 25 pounds.
Yeah,
Uh,
you look in good shape though, man. We were hanging out on Sunday and you can tell
yeah,
you've been going to the gym, man.
and that was the thing, right? Like I was going to the gym. I'm going to the gym, like I said, routinely as part of like my usual schedule. And I wasn't
Right.
getting anywhere. You know what I mean? And I
Yeah,
ran these
absolutely.
marathons. I was doing the weights and stuff too. And I'm like, why am I like, why am I pudging? I shouldn't
Right.
be. I'm eating good food. Yeah, I'm not eating junk. I was counting my calories even too, and I'm like, this isn't helping. And my
So
A1
is Oh, sorry, I
was
didn't mean to
not
interrupt you.
good. So A1C is a measure of blood sugar over, course of a little over a month. So it kind of averages it out and lets you know how it's been if you've been running high pretty consistently, and I had been, despite eating well and exercising.
So is that something is metabolic syndrome, is it, from just taken away from what you're saying, could be misunderstanding, but is it also just hereditary?
That's a big factor in it. Any one thing can start the cascade that causes that, right? So if you're predisposed to it, you should be, taking precautions for it if you have family history of those things. Or they went through some of the risk factors. If you know that, hey, I've got a lot of visceral fat, the fat that's not the stuff that you can pinch, that's hard, that people used to call a beer belly, right? If you're
Right.
getting a beer belly and your triglycerides are high, get your blood pressure screened, get your blood sugar checked, because you know it could be something that needs to be a little bit more tightly managed. And as I said, there's a lot of interplay between these different things. So making sure that everything is being managed correctly and dialed in correctly to help address it.
No, it's really fascinating, man, how much stuff's out there, and I got high blood pressure too. They've finally put me on, like, some sort of high blood pressure med, like a lighter one, but it runs in my family, so it might be have something I need to check out too, man, pay more attention to. So
Yeah, I mean, it's important to get your annual physical. A lot of people kind of just go to the doctor when they're sick and go to the emergency room when they do something stupid. Um,
right.
but
Yeah.
it is, the whole ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure is definitely true. If you
Sure.
can get out ahead of these things, you're better off. And
Yeah.
one of the things that they start with, right? They start
Right.
with the lifestyle changes. So like with you with your blood pressure, right? I'm sure they told you to keep an eye on how much salt you're eating,
Yeah,
right? And keep the salt,
absolutely.
because the salt will make you retain fluid, and if you're retaining fluid, it's a closed system, right? And
Right.
you got all that fluid in there, it's going to bring the pressure up. With the different aspects that create metabolic syndrome, the activity, they want you getting more activity, 30 minutes a day of getting your heart rate elevated. So go out for a walk at lunchtime, a brisk walk, not just to the mailbox and back, right? For
Right.
30 minutes, or go to the gym or whatever. Participate in a sport, an activity, something that you enjoy. Watch your diet. People just kind of think that, these lifestyle things get blown off. A lot of people don't take it seriously. And then, the next step after that is having to, start on medication. So statins for the cholesterol and things like metformin for blood sugar. And if you're taking those medications, but you're still eating your meals like at the state fair every day, you know what I mean? Like
Right.
Twinkies for lunch every day. That's not gonna, statins really just, throwing good after bad. So you definitely need to worry about that.
Right. Yeah, I mean, that makes a lot of sense, man. It's just like that's kind of like my whole journey with trying to do some of these videos and things is just to try to become more aware, I guess, of things I might not be aware of. Talk to different people, learn different things, read as much as I can. So I feel
Yeah.
like this would segue pretty good into the what we were talking about, blue zones.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely.
Places where 102-year-olds still ride their bike to work, chop wood, and can beat a guy 60 years younger than them.
It's awesome. Yeah. Yeah,
So,
man, that's what's up, man. That's pretty cool, man.
so did you notice the theme
You
between
know,
the two videos? What do you think I'm going to say?
yeah, I mean, I definitely can see like trying to take better care of yourself, definitely like a health type. I think this is really good, man. Being aware of, you know, your health and also, it just seems like to me that last video, the blue zone stuff, you might have to expound on that a little bit, unpack that a little
Sure.
bit for me. But as far as it just seems like moderation is key to everything.
Moderation and lifestyle. All of
Yeah.
those things in that last video, they're all lifestyle choices, right? None of
Right.
them are take this medication. Before I was talking a little bit about how some of the issues with metabolic syndrome, if you can't manage them with lifestyle, you do need to move to medication to help manage them, right? But
Right.
I thought that that was a good primer on what those lifestyle changes should look like to help, prevent this growing epidemic of obesity and the subsequent, metabolic syndrome that goes with it. Um, the blue zones, and anybody who wants to see more about this, there was a documentary on Netflix. I think it's called Living to 100. Goes into the whole process, but this guy basically, took a look at where people or what people are living to over 100, right? And then where they are, and then he kind of essentially looked at a map and they clustered together in these regions. Um, and then he went and he spent time in each of those regions to see what they're doing differently, and so they're active, they're walking around, they're shepherds, or they live in a very hilly part of the country where they're walking uphill all day. So they're being active. They have a purpose. They have
Yeah.
important people in their life.
Yeah, that's important. It's important to try to have a purpose in life. And there's a lot of people, especially after, I don't know if you've noticed, as I imagine you have, you know, when I go out these days, it's like it almost like people don't have a purpose. It's like they've lost they lost. I don't know. It just feels like a lot of people have lost a step or two since the entire COVID situation happened. And we're in this volatile moment in time.
Yeah. So you were just talking about the fact that people just disappear into their phones and they don't connect anymore.
Right.
It's one of the reasons why I didn't want to talk about like what's going on in Israel or what's going on in Congress. I mean, it just people just find ways to divide themselves and create echo chambers of people that share the same opinion as them and aren't able to have reasonable discourse or learn or have their minds changed. With new information. So you know. We're not doing any favors with social media and things like that with ourselves. We need to make sure that we're having real human connections about things that matter and that inspire us and drive us and make us better people, help us develop. I'm a perpetual student. Like I'm constantly getting
Yeah,
some
that's how I
course
feel. Yeah.
certification or reading what's going on with new drug releases or new procedures or best practices. I think that you touched on this too. Having a vocation is part of that. So the difference between a job and a vocation is a calling. It's something you feel the need to do. I feel the need to help people. That's
Mhm.
that's what I do. You are a creative. Your calling is to make things, to make art, to make music. And I think if you follow those things, that sets you in that right path, and that's going
Right.
to make you build connections with the right people. Um, so I think that's a good piece of it.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. It's pretty crazy. I randomly play this game like when I'm driving to work. I'll be like, you get bored, and I'm driving from Zebulon to Raleigh.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
it's like, I don't know, it's like
You're not
it
going to
ain't even
tell me
like
it's
30
you're with your
minutes.
friends. Like I hope you're not like.
Yeah, right. I'm not helping out my blue zone if I run into a car, man.
I see those people on 401, man.
Man, and it's crazy. It's crazy, but I started doing this thing, man. You ought to try it and then let me know. But while I'm driving, and I have been guilty of using my phone while I'm driving, but normally I'm checking my GPS,
Mhm.
and stuff like that if I'm going to play a show. But I started counting every 10 cars, and you'd be shocked at I I usually get somewhere between 6 and 8 people that are playing on their phone while they're driving down the highway.
Drives me insane because
That's crazy. Like, you're
it
going like 70 miles an hour, man.
you know
Your
when I notice
instincts
it
can't
most?
react that fast.
You know when I notice it most? On the
Sure.
motorcycle, right? When I'm on the motorcycle and, which, right, you'd never think that someone like me would be on a motorcycle.
I can see
Um,
that, though. You're a pretty badass dude, man.
but when I'm on the motorcycle, right, eh, every time somebody nearly merges into me because they're not paying attention or, pulls out in front, makes a left turn, that's a leading cause of motorcycle accidents, in fact, is people making left turns in front of us as we're going down
Right.
the road straight. Um, you know, every time people are doing that, they're staring at their phone, you know, and very easily could cost somebody their life. I mean, I've had accidents on the bike where people have hit me, you know,
Yeah.
and luckily I'm fine, but that's not always the case when people aren't paying attention. I mean, it has serious consequences. And
Yeah, I imagine you've seen a lot of, like, just wrecks and just catastrophic stuff for people, especially with your background in nursing and EMS, going to
yeah,
those seeing those things. You probably see some people get tore up, man, because somebody ain't paying attention, you know?
yeah, yeah. So,
It's just crazy.
I took a break from EMS to focus on research, and I don't practice in the emergency room anymore. But I'm actually making a return to EMS actually. I'm gonna
Right.
volunteer because I miss it a little bit, And but things have changed since then. There wasn't as much of the cell phone stuff, but distracted driving was always a problem. And limited vision. So, you got that sun glare in your face and you can't really see and you just keep going in a straight line, hope you don't hit anything, and then everybody in front of you is stopped for a traffic light. Like so I mean, you
It's
gotta pay
crazy.
you gotta pay attention.
It's pretty crazy when you think about people driving up and down the road and they're on their phones. Like, I I almost get hit all the time. I'll be honest with you. I play out a lot late at night, and this day and time, this is just something, I've been doing music professionally for like 22, 23 years, so I used to be really worried about like drunk drivers late at night.
Mhm, mhm.
I don't hardly see that as much anymore. But now I'm worried about the people in the daylight on their phone that's gonna run into me.
Yeah. So, the thing is, right, like, it used to be seatbelts. It used to be, you're fighting to get people to put their seatbelts on, and then remember, like, was it the early '90s with the cars, you'd shut the door and the thing would come across and strangle you.
Yeah, it would.
So you're
It
wearing
would.
this, what I'm talking about.
I
But
know
now
exactly what you're talking about.
people just do it, and also
Yeah.
if you don't, I mean, the car goes nuts. It's beeping like crazy. But
Wow.
we've got those things that are the lane departure warnings or the lane assist that keeps you between the lanes on the newer cars. The
Right.
adaptive speed controls so that, like, if you have cruise on and somebody's going half the speed limit in front of you, a car slows down automatically.
That's
The
pretty crazy when you
pre-collision,
think about it.
yeah, the pre-collision radar thing where, like, it
Yep.
starts beeping and it hits the brakes for you. So that's a blessing and a curse because I think it gives people the feeling that they can, like, put their Tesla on autopilot and then watch the Great British Bake Off instead of pay attention to what's going on in front of them.
So I got like a terrain, like a SUV.
Mhm.
I love that. It's the first vehicle I ever had that was nice enough to where it was modern enough to where I have the backup. Like, you're looking at your screen as you're backing up. Man, I'm like, that has ruined me driving a car that doesn't have that because I'm like, I love that. But I was in a car with a guy, man, about a year ago. He had tricked his car out, and he had like a screen,
Uh-huh.
and like he had like a TV And I'm like, dude, you're watching a show. I mean, you're still driving, man.
I could see, like, let's say you're a limousine driver, right? You know, and
Right,
you're like,
right.
you pull up in front of somewhere, you drop somebody off for dinner, and they're paying you to sit there for an hour and drive them home when they're done with dinner. Hey,
I
you
can
wanna
see
watch
that.
a movie? I could see that, but, like,
Yeah, but this guy won in a limousine, man.
you
But
know,
yeah,
again, that's a lifestyle choice. You
man.
know, that's risky behavior. Wearing sunscreen, wearing a seatbelt, putting on a helmet. These are decisions that you make that directly impact your well being. You
Probably
know,
not getting in tanning beds. That's probably not living in your blue zone.
yeah, yeah. So the other thing that was one of the lifestyle choices they talked about in both videos was diet. And I'm guilty of this too because I'll work a regular work day and then maybe I'll see a patient or I'll go hang out with Sarah or something and you
You want
know
some pizza?
yeah, exactly. Get some processed garbage, grab some Taco Bell because
Absolutely,
that's what's open at 10 o'clock at night when I'm getting home late or whatever.
absolutely.
And
Yeah, I always thought about this, man. Like having a small business that I don't think McDonald's over here, well, in Zebulon, I don't think they even serve salads anymore.
I don't think so either. I think you're right.
I mean, they used to have the McSalad shaker or
Yeah,
whatever.
yeah.
I think they just did away with that, man.
I
And
think people are
it's
just
almost
lying
like
to
the healthy
themselves.
options are just out the window. So,
Well, honestly, Taco Bell's not terrible health-wise. Ground beef is not the worst thing, and then
right.
cheese and some lettuce, yeah,
You think it's really ground beef, man?
I don't know, prison meat, right? Wasn't that with The Simpsons, right? It was coming out of a can, it said prison meat. Um,
It is, man. It's prison meat.
yeah, but I mean, if you can't pronounce it, it's kinda hard to think that it's a good idea to eat it, right? I mean,
Right.
now I say that, but there are things that have chemical names that are, difficult to pronounce or look terrible, but they're actually a real thing. Like you ever hear of dihydrogen monoxide?
It's what?
H2O. It's H2O. It's water. So,
Okay, okay.
I mean, exactly. So you can make it sound crazy.
Yeah,
There's
yeah,
another thing where it's all the
yeah.
phenols and different things that are in an apple, and somebody posted online like the chemical names of all the things that are in an apple, and it's like this looks terrible. I never eat this, and it's like it's an
And
apple.
it's an apple.
Yeah. So
It's
you know,
freaking funny, man.
recognizing what things are in the foods that you're eating. The other great tip I've heard is do your grocery shopping from the outside of the grocery store, right? So along the refrigerated sections and then the produce section and stay out of the aisles. You know,
Yeah. Yeah, that makes sense.
eating the Doritos and the, Kraft mac and cheese and all that stuff.
Maybe pork. I saw this one video. I watch a lot of different types of stuff just to try to, learn a little bit more. And
Mhm.
I saw this one guy talking about when he goes to like Walmart or he goes to get his groceries at Food Line or wherever, wherever you might go, he'll park at like the end of the parking lot
Mhm.
just so he can walk further.
Yeah, I do that. I do that.
You
At
know,
the gym too, it's crazy. I'll go to like Planet Fitness and then like people are like, fighting to park in the first row of spaces over there.
it's
So
kind of funny, man. It's
you're gonna get the closest parking space to go walk on a treadmill for 45 minutes. Why don't you park at the end,
freaking
and take
hilarious.
5 minutes off your treadmill time.
We're an awkward species, man.
I know. But
That
the
is
other
kind of funny. That is kind of funny when
right?
you think about it. Like, because I mean, you're going into the gym to like burn calories and all that stuff, and then you're like, I got to get up front, but
But the other thing too is that groceries are insane expensive right now,
they
and
are, man.
going the route of eating cleaner, it's actually cheaper too. Especially like me, I'm cheap as hell. Um, I'll go.
Said you a cheap date. Brian
Yeah,
said he's a cheap date, man.
yeah. Just tell me tell me I'm pretty and give me a little bit of food. No, but
Yeah, I'll eat good. I'll tell you something funny, man. I don't want to interrupt you, but I got this thought I just had. You
mhm,
might get a kick out of this. So I'll do keto once in a while.
You
And
know,
but it's funny because in my mind, I know it's goofy and it's stupid, but I'm like, I'll eat something that's like a keto lunch, and then at nighttime, I'm like,
yeah.
I'm
You
eating
gotta be
rice
careful
and
with
pasta.
the
I don't know, man. It's like I need my carbs. So
yeah, you gotta be careful with the keto stuff, especially around like the animal fats and stuff. The healthy
yeah,
fats, like, the
is the
lean,
animal fats is that would that be considered trans fats?
yes, yeah,
Okay,
any
so what? Explain that to me real quick. So I know you have good fats and bad fats.
yeah,
What
so
is the trans? Is that the animal fats?
that's a good way of like if you're gonna make a bucket of things to put them in. Some of the heavily manufactured things are also, trans fats. I think like palm oil is one that looks like it's a healthy thing, but it's not. A good rule of thumb is anything that's solid at room temperature, you want to minimize how much of that you're eating as far as fats
But
go.
back off the dairy and stuff.
Dairy fats are not terrible. I'm not going to demonize anything. I think that everything, like we were saying before, in moderation is okay. Right. But,
Right.
eating a stick of butter for breakfast is not appropriate. Right. It'd be keto.
My granddad, now given we were tobacco farmers, man, but my granddad, now he lived to be 90, gosh knows. I mean, he was in his upper 90s when he passed, but we were tobacco farmers and he would eat a stick of butter at lunch with some molasses.
Jeez.
Jeez.
Do not
I
do
know, dude, I
that
know.
that is not how you end up being one of those blue zone people.
But he was in the field all day long too.
I was gonna say, so he was offsetting that with how much
He
labor
was.
he was doing and all those other things that video talked about, right? He was doing,
He
nutrition,
always moved. He
perfect.
always moved.
Yep,
He would get up, like he would walk around with me.
yeah.
If we were walking somewhere, he'd go a little bit further than the average person. You know what I'm saying? And
He did
it was like he was like just like muscular until he died, man. He was just like, but he was always moving, always doing stuff, picking stuff up, um, driving around, going to do stuff on the tractor, you
mhm.
know. Now I do have one thing I wanted to ask you about the blue zone thing.
Yeah.
So I saw that one part of it said that there's 5 total blue zones. Explain this to me exactly what I mean, because they listed legitimate places,
Mhm.
correct? Now I understand that most of that stuff can be taken and you can apply most of it to your life, but can you explain the actual places? Because I watched it and I was like, well, I'll ask him about it. I got it on my note right here. I
Yeah.
was like, ask Ryan about that. What does that mean exactly?
So, like I was saying before, what they did was they took all the data and they looked at how, where do people live who live over the age of what it was 95 or something like that.
Uh,
And then they plotted all those on the map and they saw hot spots in those places. That's where they had the biggest concentration. So they were like, let's go see what these people are doing that's different. And that's where they came up with those, suggested, changes to lifestyle. Um,
for some reason, I thought it had something to do with the ocean, but
no, 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 no. Although that's something that is a good way to like relax and get that outdoor time and all that they were mentioning in there. But no, and they took these learnings and they tried to do a project called Blue Cities, where they incentivized these behaviors within some cities, and they
like
talk a
a
little.
reward system.
Yeah, yeah, kind of like that, and making it easier. So, like I'm not a dietitian, but I realize the importance of diet on our health. You go to the cheap gas station, you put the crap gasoline in your car, right? It
Yeah,
ain't run as good as when you put the race stuff in it, right? So,
absolutely.
what we put in our body is what we go to sleep at night. Our body, works on repairing itself, right? And if it's
Right.
reaching in the junk drawer and pulling out duct tape and and bubble
Duct
gum,
tape on a bullet hole,
yeah,
man. They got
exactly, to put things back together, it's not going to be as good as if it's walking the aisles of Home Depot, right? So having good building blocks for our metabolism and for for our overall health.
It's very
Like
cool, man.
the beans was something that they mentioned in that video being, a good source
Yeah,
of fiber and protein.
I saw that. I saw that. And when I've
Sheep.
lowered my blood pressure a lot now since I've been going back to the doctor. I didn't want to go to the doctor for years because
Yeah.
I just don't, but I need to go. So I started making myself over the last few years go, and they put me on like what's called a Mediterranean diet.
Hmm.
And it has a lot of lentils and
Yes, absolutely.
beans and grilled chicken. And it's helped me substantially.
Mhm. Yeah,
Um,
and good lean fats, so fish,
yeah.
olive
I
oil.
still drink diet drinks, man. I got to quit doing that. I've been watching myself drink diet drinks this whole podcast.
Yeah,
I'm like, I'm
they
like,
say, yeah, the carbonated and sugary beverages you definitely want to stay clear from. But
yeah,
even the fake sugars, they cause your body to think that there is a need to spike your insulin.
yeah,
One of the reasons that beans are so good is because they have a ton of fiber in them.
right,
And the fiber actually slows down your body's absorption. And so it will help prevent spikes of your blood sugar. So
right.
drinking a glass of orange juice will send your blood sugar through the roof, but eating an orange won't because you're getting all that pulp and that fiber to help regulate the absorption of that stuff. So
Got you. I got you. Well, hey Ryan, it looks like we're coming up on the time
yeah.
as long as I can record here.
Hmm.
And I want to tell you, man, thank you so much for doing this video with me. It's been a
Yeah.
pleasure, man. And I'd love to keep talking to you if you ever have time in the future, man. So you
Yeah.
guys, that's my man Ryan. Lovely guy, man. Thank you, Ryan.
Hey, no problem, Nick. I'll see you soon.
Have a good one, brother.
You too.